Hey, what's up guys, Aarav here. Welcome back to an episode of my F1 2018 career mode, episode number 162 today for the Singapore Grand Prix in Season 8. If you guys did miss the previous one, the Italian Grand Prix, then be sure to go check the one out before you see this one uploaded about 4 or 5 days ago there at Monza. It was quite a tough race, very entertaining one, but a bit of a rough weekend and up and down one for sure. Hopefully a bit more stability here at Singapore, but being Singapore, there's always the chance of a safety car and some incidents in the race, and it's going to be a long, old, tough one, obviously the longest race on the calendar. And it's going to be a tough one also because you can see Red Bull maintain that advantage on paper in the performance chart there to Renault and ourselves at Alfa Racing. Mercedes have closed up a little bit as well and creeped up on us really, but we're yet to see them really get in the fight. But we can get straight into qualifying then. We maintain a lead in the Drivers' Championship going into this round, but we lost some ground in the Constructors to Red Bull Honda as a team, and they've actually creeped up into the title fight Constructors-wise because they are actually ahead of Renault now in the Constructors' standings. So have to be wary of that because they look very strong, very much like the back end of last year, where obviously in the end Pierre Gasly became the reigning world champion as it is right now in Season 8. So we have to be wary of the Red Bull threat now as Renault fall away a little bit and Red Bull Honda come into their own. But in qualifying then, on our second run here, trying to gain a bit more time, was very cautious, I got to say, on that first flying lap, and definitely didn't go as aggressive as I could have done into a lot of these corners. I was missing quite a lot of apexes as well. So second run was a lot better. You can see we're gaining heaps of time there on the top right, but to be fair, there was about 2, even 3 seconds to pole position as it was. So I do have to gain a fair old time on this second lap then, and it has to be a lot better. So we chuck it through the last corner, across the line, DRS open, are up into P4 behind Hamilton ahead of Verstappen. I was pretty happy with that, but we go down the order then eventually to the end of the session down to P8 as the checkered flag has fallen. So we need to massively improve even more so from that second flying lap to even get towards our teammate now, who I believe Leclerc is around P4 or 5 as it stands provisionally on the grid as it were before the session ends. So we've got to try and do the best job we can, chucking it through the last few corners then the left towards the last wall before we go through the last corner then. Nice and aggressive on the curbs, plant the power, DRS open on the line and across the line, and it's going to be a pretty damn awesome P3 in the end, actually, with Leclerc finishing up in P4. It's a front row lockout for the Red Bull Hondas, surprise, but we've both beaten both Renault cars, so Renault really have fallen off a little bit there, but Alonso's still, close by, so that could be a factor in the race. But I think really our fight is going to be looking forward ahead, hopefully against the Red Bull cars, but they're looking mighty strong, as they would do, being Singapore. You would imagine Red Bull would be good at Singapore, but I'm very happy with how we built up the speed there, slow on the first run and just got faster and faster to get that P3. So pretty damn happy. Looking forward to this race. It's going to be a long one though, so it's always a bit of a struggle. It always feels like an absolute age when you're recording this race for the career mode video. It just goes on forever, so that's going to be a mental struggle. But let's get into this then. Let's go to the grid.
As the sun sets over the South China Sea, the sport that never sleeps is alert and raring to go. Welcome, under the bright lights of the Marina Bay circuit, to another Singapore Grand Prix. It's a very long, very physical lap, this one, and really there's not much in the way of margin for error. So we have a bit of an endurance race for you tonight. It's a 3.1 mile lap here at the Marina Bay Street Circuit with 47% taken at full throttle. It's hot, humid and bumpy around the 13 lefts and the 10 rights of mostly slow corners, but we should see speeds of up to 200 miles per hour along the Raffles Boulevard.
And so with that, let's have a look at the starting grid ahead of this Singapore Grand Prix for Season 8 of my F1 2018 career mode. And on pole position then is Carlos Sainz in the Red Bull Honda. Alongside him is Pierre Gasly, the reigning world champion, with the front row lockout for Red Bull. Second row is all Alfa Racing, myself and Charles Leclerc, with 5th place Fernando, Alonso and Hulkenberg P6. Then you've got Hamilton and Verstappen P7 and 8, and then Van Dorn and Magnussen round out the top 10. Sergei Sorokin, the Russian, in a good P11 alongside Brendan Hartley. Then Perez and Ocon in the Ferrari. Then you've got Grosjean next to Valtteri Bottas, Kimi Raikkonen with a great 17th place ahead of Dan Ricciardo with a grid penalty, and then Lance Stroll and Sebastian Vettel with a bitterly disappointing P20 to start the Singapore Grand Prix. Right, with P3 on the grid, I'm hoping we have a very good chance and maybe trying to challenge forward on those Red Bulls, but the race will be quite tough. Tyre wear is always an issue, even in Season 8 with the tyre wear upgrades. It's going to be a 2-stop from the Hypersoft to the Ultrasoft tyres, lowering down on fuel, but really it's going to be that tyre wear and also ultimately a bit of traffic potentially that really determines how the Singapore Grand Prix goes for us. But let's get into it then. From the second row of the grid, all Alfa Romeo and all front row of Red Bull Honda here ahead of us. So let's see what we can do to challenge those Bulls as we go to 5 red lights to the Singapore Grand Grand Prix for Season 8. Fire lights are out and we're underway. It's a pretty decent start for us, but a much better one for Pierre Gasly, who challenges his teammate Carlos Sainz into turn 1. Bit of contact there between the Frenchman and the Spaniard, but ultimately the pole man Sainz is able to keep P1. We're right up the chuff of Gasly as we go through that next left-hander, but Leclerc ultimately also is right behind us, and it looks like the Renault, I think, of Hamilton there going down the inside of Verstappen to try and make it an all kind of Noah's Ark 2x2 with the two Renaults behind us. But look at this, the speed Leclerc's got out of nowhere there. My teammate waltzes to the inside there, charges forwards and goes round the outside. We're cautious on under braking not to make any contact with our teammate, and he forces his way through. I was not ready for that down that straight. I was looking forward to maybe trying to slipstream Gasly, but then Leclerc's pace, the exit he got off that right-hander was biblical, and then the way he just breezed past me. I don't know if he's running a lower downforce setup than I am, but perhaps he is, and we'll kind of be able to tell by that as we go through this Grand Prix. Maybe through sectors 2 and 3 I'll be a little bit closer to him, because I'm running definitely a little bit higher on the wings, as I usually do around Singapore. It is a bit of a compromising circuit because it is a street circuit, but also there's all these long back straights. So clearly I think Leclerc has gone for a lower downforce setup to me, because the speed he had was madness. That wasn't all just the acceleration. So right now it's a 1-2 for Red Bull still. It's a 3-4 for Alfa Romeo, but just the other way around. And it's also a 5-6 for Renault, with Alonso ahead of Hamilton then. But as we move on to lap 3, you saw there, I conferred to my engineer for an earlier pit stop. He asked me if I want to pit earlier to change that to a pit stop on lap 4 rather than lap 6. And I've got to agree with him, to be honest, because the tyres aren't feeling too great here. Singapore definitely is the trickiest place on the calendar for tyre wear and how the tyres just feel when you overheat them a little bit there. So not feeling too amazing, although saying that, we are holding on to Leclerc here and keeping him quite honest here with DRS. You can see we're closing up. He goes defensive into the next left-hander there on lap 4. So we look around a little bit, but then in the end, ultimately, you can see also the issues I'm having on the exit with traction with oversteer. So I'm going to come in at the end of this lap for an early pit stop and try and get an undercut on Leclerc, and also try and see if we're going to try and close up on Pierre Gasly and Carlos Sainz in the Red Bulls in 1 and 2. So here we come now, just about into the pit lane without crashing into the wall on the entry there on the right hand side. I've got to say that was very, very close. Then we strapping on the set of Ultrasoft tyres here. So still the strategy is the same thing, a 2-stop with 2 sets of Ultras. So this is the first set of Ultras we put on in this race, but just going a little bit earlier. Engineer advised it, like I said, and I was kind of feeling it. And in the past we have gained quite a fair bit of time actually on the undercut around Singapore. So let's just see. It's going to be more about really where the traffic is, and I'm hoping that my engineer has slotted me in some good space. So we come out there, it's a little bit busy as we get out side by side with a Williams car there of Lance Stroll ahead of Sebastian Vettel, who's really struggling in that Ferrari car. He's still in last place in that Ferrari, so I'm pretty sure Vettel must have some major issue there, because he's behind both Williams, which are definitely the slowest cars on the grid by a mile. As we now try and make an overtake on Kimi Raikkonen, my former Ferrari teammate, and he's now in a new lick of paint this season and these days, but we're up into P17 now, and we'll try and chase after Dan Ricciardo. But to be honest, I'm already starting to think my engineer has not calculated this correctly, because he's put me in a lot of dirty air and a lot of track as we now have to try and overtake Dan Ricciardo around the outside. Bit of contact on the front left there as we have a little bit of ping pong there into turn 1, but we get it done up into P16, and now we have to try and overtake Romain Grosjean, the Frenchman, in the Haas. Can we make a move to the outside? We have a little look with our nose, but just can't get enough grip on the outside there, so instead with DRS open. But look how quick that Haas is, actually. That Haas has got some very decent pace in the straight line. He's actually attacking the Force India ahead of us, of Sergio Perez there, and so that's a little bit worrying. Can we try and move to the inside? We have a little bit of a look, but think better of it at the last minute there, because the door was always going to close on us there from Grosjean. So this is proving very difficult right now, because we're definitely losing a lot of time at the moment here. Being behind Grosjean, he goes defensive. We're going to go to the outside, then switch it to the inside. We have some room to work with, but Grosjean squeezes us into the wall there. That could have been horrendous. That could have been race over for us here. We try and move to the inside now, darting there. A little bit of rubbing on the tyres, but we've made a side-by-side move work very nicely. On the exit, we get good acceleration, but then Grosjean comes back at us there. That Haas, like I said, on the back straight, has some really weird, good straight line speed there on the top range of the gearbox, and he nearly got us there, but we actually finally pull it through P15 eventually. But that lost us so much time. Like, that was a good few seconds of time we've lost on Grosjean. So I'm getting very annoyed right now at the situation we're in. We go round the outside for a ridiculously easy move on the Force India, just showing the downforce level differences between Alfa Romeo and the Force India right now. And now we come out side by side with one of the Renaults. It's Lewis Hamilton, which begs the question, is Fernando Alonso also ahead of us now? Not only Leclerc keeping ahead of us, but maybe Alonso is. We're still neck and neck with the Hamilton. He gets the move done on the outside. We're awkwardly pinched into the apex, and so now this has turned into a bit of a calamity here, and I'm fuming at my engineer for making me pit that lap because he just did not calculate it correctly, and he's put me in too much traffic and too much dirty air. That's exactly the engineer's job, recommending me a pit stop if it's going to help me out, and it's clearly not right now, as now myself and Hamilton are trying to get past Hülkenberg and the other Force India of Valtteri Bottas here. Hamilton goes for the aggressive move to the inside. Great to always see AI cars battling side by side, but we get held up massively behind Hülkenberg. We almost lose a bit of our front wing there, as I have to brake check myself and stop myself steamrolling to the back of the German. But now we're going to make a tasty move to the outside there. A ridiculous, again, level of grip that we've got compared to these slower cars, and so just showing how much time we are losing being stuck behind these much slower cars, as we're up into P11 now, still chasing after Lewis Hamilton. But now the damage is done. I'm pretty sure Leclerc and Alonso are way out ahead of us here. So we come through the last corner on towards lap 8. This is DRS open there. Hamilton makes a move on Bottas. We're going to make a move on Bottas as well on the right-hand side. It's 3 wide momentarily now, 2 by 2, as we go around the outside of Bottas and have a little bit of a gander at Hamilton, but doesn't work out. So we still look at the back of Hamilton here and kind of gritting my teeth at the moment, because this I'm just realizing very much so we've literally lost maybe 10 seconds, if not even more here, with this entire debacle. So here we go now, DRS wide open to the right-hand side. Hamilton goes defensive to the inside there. Can we have the grip on the outside? We have to leave him some space because he's still very much there, and so it's still neck and neck. Hamilton finds the space. We've got a screen freeze, and that forces us to actually squeeze Hamilton unintentionally into the wall there. He gets the elbows back out, and he's forced us back into P9, so he remains in P8. We're closing again, and we get it really hot into that corner. We go off circuit. We narrowly miss the wall on the right side. Now we go defensive on Valtteri Bottas there, so now getting a little bit flustered and angsty here as we try to overtake Hamilton desperately there. So I nearly just straight away just plowed into him. It's just a case of I thought he was going to carry much more speed than he did, and so we have to wait now until lap 9. DRS open now, about the 5 minutes time, lucky hopefully, to the inside now of Hamilton, squeezing him out into the apex and on the exit of turn 1, and finally we're passing up into P7, and we go chasing after Brenton Hartley in the McLaren, and then the next car along on the mini-map right now is Fernando Alonso, that is in the yellow dot. And then you've got Ocon in the Ferrari. Ocon and Hartley both out of sync of this Grand Prix with their pit stop strategies. And so we are eventually going to catch up to the Kiwi man in the papaya orange McLaren there on lap number 10. It's been such a long feeling Grand Prix so far, but we're not only even a third of the way through this entire Grand Prix, and so much action's already kicked off here. So here we go now on the awkward right-hander, getting some good exit speed. DRS open there, very fine margins on the right there. We get squeezed through to the wall by Hartley, but we're up into P6 now, as it is Ocon, our next target in the Ferrari. Alonso at the moment P5, then I believe it's Leclerc and the 2 Red Bull cars leading the way. But you can see that I make a mistake a little bit there, and Hartley actually had a go at me to come back at me. So you know, the rhythm is not really with me at the moment at Singapore, I can't lie. As we come through now to the end of lap 11, Ocon comes in for his pit stop, and so we're going to be up into P5. So Alonso P4, I believe then Verstappen is somewhere there out of sync as well. Leclerc P3 with a 1-2 still for Red Bull Honda. But from lap 12 now, we just push on as much as we can, and eventually around lap 17, this is Fernando Alonso making his second pit stop of the night, and he's going to be out right behind a Toro Rosso car. So I'm begging the Toro Rosso can hold up Alonso, because he's in a Toro Rosso sandwich actually with both the Toro Rosso cars, so hopefully they can hold him up a little bit. It's now we go on to the end of lap 17 on to lap 18, and we're going to make our pit stop, our last pit stop of the night, for another set of Ultrasoft tyres here. So I've got to hope that 1, Alonso gets held up enough by those Toro Rossos, and 2, I had a good enough in-lap and a good out-lap here to try and close up Alonso. There was about a gap of about, I would say, 8 or 9 seconds to Alonso there, so it wasn't tragic, but it's still quite a lot, and considering we're like 1 second behind Leclerc before, we've still lost that massively ever since that first pit stop. So, you know, it's in the past now. All we can do is have a debrief with engineer after the race and kind of slam him a little bit for that annoying mistake of putting us a little bit too early into traffic. But we come out now well ahead of Hamilton and just behind Sergei Sorokin, the second Toro Rosso here. here, so we're going to close up as we move on to lap 18. Alonso has already dispatched the other Toro Rosso, so Hopkin will come in, and so we come through into P7 to the line on lap number 19. Then hopefully Van Dorn will come in soon enough, and then it'll just be clean air sailing to try and catch up to Alonso, although we do actually catch Van Dorn on lap 19 as we enter the end of Sector 1 into Sector 2. Might have to make a dive to the inside. No, don't have the speed for it, and so this is another bit of traffic that's not going to help us out here. Van Dorn very slow, clearly got some major tyre wear issues right now, but we just don't have enough overspeed in the straights. That Honda power is very, very decent here. So we have a little look on the right-hand side, locking up, but we go around the outside to the inside for the next very tight right-hander. Bit of contact made, rubbing the side pod, and Van Dorn ultimately keeps that going. And so the traffic and the defensive work by the AI has been very, very good and very annoying for me so far in this Grand Prix. As we move on now to the end of lap 19, looking towards lap 20, and still just trying to hustle and harry Van Dorn, trying to find some sort of space to make the move, but eventually, annoyingly, he comes in anyway for the pit stop. So very frustrating times. But now, here we go. Lap 20, 11 laps to go in this Grand Prix. Clean air, clean sailing towards myself and Alonso. The gap is about 9 to 10 seconds. Can we try and close up on him and get a move done by the end of the Grand Prix? Let's hope so. We've got to hope also maybe for some traffic for Alonso, I'm hoping. We are catching some cars in the midfield, so hopefully he does get held up somewhat as we now move on to lap 26. We've now got 5 laps to go, and we can see now visually Alonso right ahead of us. We're within DRS range now, so we've done some rapid lap times. The only question is if we can actually even overtake Fernando Alonso here, because we've seen how difficult it was to overtake Hamilton. We don't have as many laps as we did with Hamilton to do the job here. We've got some traffic up ahead maybe. You can see that red dot on the minimap of, I think, the Ferrari of Vettel, who's struggling massively here. So if we can both close up to Vettel, maybe I can use him as a bit of a roadblock, maybe to try and help me out, because you can see in a straight line, Alonso does have me quite covered there. He goes defensive on the left-hand side, but ultimately we didn't really challenge him too much on that straight. And we're going to turn down the engine and the ERS a little bit through sectors 2 and 3 just to save up enough for the end of this Grand Prix, because I want to be able to go rich mix at the very end here. As we move on to lap 27 then, and we're still not able to get him enough in a straight line there, even lagging behind a little bit on that exit of that right-hander before that back straight. You've got yellow flags though, so what's that for? We've got a Williams car, I think that is, out of this Grand Prix, so we can't do any overtaking anyways. Raikkonen is the one that goes out of this Grand Prix, but you can see on the mini-map, again, like I pointed out, we are closing up to that Ferrari car, Vettel, so that might be the key potentially right to the death of this race on lap 31. But saying that, we get very close to Alonso here in sectors 2. We have a little bit of a look on the outside like we did in Hulkenberg in the Mercedes earlier. Can't quite make it work, and we have a lot of oversteer there on the exit, but we massively caught up there on that where the Singapore sling used to be, and where it's now a bit more of a straighten up just left and right there, but we gained massively there. So Alonso, maybe his tyres are really going off here as we move on now to the second last lap of the Grand Prix here. DRS open, we're much closer now, and I actually feel like a move coming on, because Alonso goes defensive to turn 1. He's not feeling confident here. We have to stick behind him and just narrowly miss some contact on the front wing. We've got blue flags out because Vettel now is close enough maybe to us, but Alonso, you can see with a twitch on the oversteer there, he's struggling with his tyres, so we go nice and early to that corner, feed the throttle in, and there we go. We've made a move to the inside there. We've got our nose just alongside him. He's going to have to give us the room as we go to the inside. DRS kicks in, and we're on the outside now for the next left-hander into sector 2. Alonso tries to do his best to defend, but we surely should have that to the inside. He goes to the outside, tries to do what Hamilton did to me to defend that position, but ultimately compared to Hamilton in that situation, he did not have the grip to do it, and Alonso has to succeed that position, and we're up into P4 in this Grand Prix then. So pretty much back to where we were. We fought very hard, but, you know, we made it work there, and so that's the maximum I could have hoped for after that first pit stop there. So it's going to be a 1-2 for Red Bull Honda. It's going to be Carlos Sainz that wins the Singapore Grand Prix. So 2 wins in a row for the Spaniard this is, and it's 4 wins in a row for Red Bull Honda. So very dominant performance as of late for Red Bull there with 4 wins in a row, 2 apiece for Gasly and Carlos Sainz. Gasly in second place. Leclerc comes home in a pretty solid third place there, and we're going to come home in P4 just ahead of Fernando Alonso there. I'm a little bit upset with that result, but also at the same time, considering where we were after that first pit stop, I've got to be happy with that, but mixed feelings for sure. It's still a solid Grand Prix, I guess you could say.
Nice work, you did well today. I think the boss will be happy with that one.
So as they climb out of the car, the Red Bull team are ready and waiting to celebrate a thoroughly well-deserved win. Anthony, what do you think made the difference here?
Well, I'd say it's just raw pace, plain and simple. I mean, we could sit here and talk about strategy all day, the overtaking, looking after the tyres, But at the end of it all, if you want to win, you need a package that's got the speed over everyone else. And that's exactly what they had today.
What this means for the championship, though, is we're still in the lead by 19 points to Fernando Alonso. So despite Alonso having such bad results as of late, he's still maintaining P2, because that's how far ahead myself and Alonso as a duo pair, as rivals, were ahead of the Red Bulls. But now Red Bull have been catching up a little bit with Gasly and Sainz. So you never know. If they continue this pace, we've not got too many Grand Prix left for the season, but they could just about get back into this championship fight by the end of it. In the Constructors, Red Bull are definitely in the fight, because now they are ahead of us in the Constructors' Championship. So 4 wins in a row gets you the lead. The Constructors, of course, Red Bull, Honda there. So myself and Leclerc, we need to buck up a little bit and try and stop this momentum that Red Bull have for the sake of trying to win the Constructors' title for the team. But of course, I'm more focused on the drivers, and for now, we're doing the job. 19 points ahead. That's still a massive margin ready to try and control as we go through the ebb and flow of the rest of this season. So still very happy coming away from that sort of Grand Prix. It was a very enjoyable one, a bit frustrating at times with the traffic, but nonetheless, it was fun to overtake all those cars, but it was frustrating to lose that much time, especially with Grosjean. That was such a weird fight and a weird situation, because he had so much more pace in the straight line than I thought he would do, being a Haas car in the midfield, so that was very odd. But either way, guys, if you did enjoy the video, then be sure to smash that like button. Let me know your thought in the comments below. If you are new around here, you can subscribe for weekly Fall On content. I've been Aarava. Have a interesting day, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.